You went to college down at Texas Western. I know you grew up in Texas. How did you end up there and not at Texas?
Well, I went to Rice University first, and then I stayed down there, and then a year, and then transferred to Texas Western College in El Paso.
What made you want to transfer from Rice?
Well, because I guess I was homesick and I was lonesome, and 585 miles from home, and I went home 5 times the first semester. Rode a Greyhound bus 585 miles, and each time I went home to stay, but my brother got on my case, and I went back, and then I stayed and transferred my hours and stuff to Texas Western College, and then I was a redshirt out there during spring training, and then the next fall, and then spring training, and being on the redshirt team ever play. Well, I did everything, played quarterback and so forth, and redshirt, and then when I got eligible, well, I as a sophomore, I stepped in the starting lineup and was a starter and regular for 3 years. And back then, you played both ways. So defense was my claim to fame, but I did pretty good on offense too.
And you get drafted by the New York Giants. Did you have any idea that they would be picking you? Because they drafted you as a future, right, in 57?
Yes, sir.
So did they still have your rights for 58? Is that how it worked?
They drafted me, and so I belonged to the Giants, and I went up to the Giants in 58, and we wound up going into the sudden death game with the Colts.
What did the Giants draft you as a wide receiver or as a defensive player more?
The Giants?
Yes.
I'm not. Well, I ran the kickoff back, and I did punt returns. So that's you'd have to ask them. They just drafted me, and I was probably one of the most versatile players on the team behind the great Frank Gifford.
Back then, they had their training camp in Oregon?
Salem, Oregon, yes, sir. That name of the college was Willamette University.
Okay. A fur piece from New York City, I would say.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of partying in Oregon like compared to New York City.
No, in training camp, there's not too much going on anyway.
Because I remember reading Frank Gifford's book, and he mentioned that most of the New York Giants lived in hotels in New York City there, and it was like party after party.
Well, I don't know about that. I lived in the same hotel as Gifford and Charlie Connolly and all. There was about 18 Giants that lived at the Concourse Plaza Hotel, and we went to work out every day, be in your seats and ready to meetings and practice. And then after practice, while people came home about 5:30, and then like I say, that many families lived in the hotel, so I don't. Whoever partied was whoever it was, and I guess single guys.
So how did that work in the hotel? I mean, did you have like kitchens and everything? Was it like a suite, or was it just you would get room service, or just go out to dinner or lunch?
Oh no! At the Concourse Plaza Hotel was one of the old established hotels about 2 or 3 blocks up from Yankee Stadium and across from the Polo Grounds, and all in the apartments. They had apartments in the hotel. You could have a one-room efficiency that had the kitchen on one wall and the bed made, the couches made into beds, and or if you had kids, probably, well, you might have a 1-bedroom, and then maybe somebody's got more, they might have a 2-bedroom. There's all kind of suites, but they all had full kitchen and bathroom facilities.
So do you do much cooking?
Beg your pardon?
Did you do much cooking in that
kitchen? Well, yeah, you know, my wife and daughter was you know, there, so naturally she cooked when just like you eat. It depends on the people. You know, some people eat 3 meals a day, some people eat 2 and snacks and like that. Just normal life.
Was that
Everybody was pretty close. We only had, I think we only had 3 rookies on the ball club, so the veterans, they were real close, and that was the first year in '58 that they put 35 players on the roster.
Were you accepted right away by the veterans? Because that was a pretty veteran team. You know, you had a lot of guys in their 30s.
Yeah, well, that, you know, that's just, you know, that's just pro football. You got age different within all ball clubs. You know, you got some rookies, you got the veterans, and they even had what they called a taxi team. That was guys they kind of kept around, paid a little bit that might play later on, or if somebody got hurt, they'd always be a backup player.
The Giants team had a tough defense. I mean, you had numerous Hall of Famers on there, Robustelli, Sam Huff. I mean, they were just loaded. Did you enjoy going up against those guys in practice?
Well, that's just enjoyment is you played your position, you did what you were told to do on the field, and that was it. They, like I say, they were, I think, maybe eight guys, and then coaches and all that. Out of that 58 team, probably the most in the league ever. Made it to the Hall of Fame.
And you had an offensive coordinator by the name of Vince Lombardi. Did he realize how good you were?
Well, I don't know. He's pretty good. Tom Landry, since I played defense and I played offense both, and then I was special team kick returner and punt returner. Why? They could evaluate talent pretty good.
What was Lombardi like as a coach?
He's just great coach. He was probably as great as he was back then, and then later a lot of his greatness carried over, and that's why he became the head coach at Green Bay. But the nice thing about him and Landry, why they expected you to know the system, and they kind of wouldn't really tolerate a mistake, and there wasn't really any mistakes made. I think I made one time in a ball game. I was supposed to fake up into the line a little bit, and Charlie Connolly was throwing a delayed flare or swing pass to the back, and I kind of missed it, and that was the only mistake I made in 16 years pro football.
That's not too bad. Now, that 58 championship game is considered one of the greatest games in the history of sport. What was it like being in that contest?
Well, we'd tied for Cleveland for the Eastern Division, and we played them in a playoff, and we beat them, and now we're going into the championship game, and if up was going to get the loser share, and if we played a little harder, well, we could wind up with the winning share. But the Colts, Baltimore Colts, had a great team led by Johnny Unitas and Raymond Berry and some great other ones that wound up in the Hall of Fame. That game probably had more Hall of Fame guys in it later on than any game that'll ever be played. So, and then when you went into overtime, well, it also proved who the best team was that day, and that was Baltimore.
To this day, Frank Gifford insists that the Giants should have won the game because he said that he was marked down short of where he actually got tackled.
Yeah, well, whatever he said and whatever the film showed, that nice thing about it, any time in the film, a lot of times it answers the truth. So, he said it was missed because he had carried the ball, and that's the play that one of the Colts, Gino Marchetti, broke his leg on the play, and there's a lot of confusion going back and forth with the officials and trying to get the trainer out to the injured player and all. So I'm sure he's seen it a lot more times than I have, but whatever he said would probably be true.
Raymond Berry laughs. He goes, Frank Gifford's taking credit for bouncing off the turf with his knee. He goes, once you hit the ground, you're down. He goes, Frank forgot about that.
Yeah, well, if that's what they said it. I don't know anything about that.
So the Colts go on to win the championship, and your rookie year is over. And then they released you. How surprising was that?
Well, that was a year later in training camp when Lombardi went to Green Bay and Landry went to Dallas, and they brought in a guy. Allie Sherman had been on the Giants kind of scouting staff, and he'd been a coach, and he's the guy that cut me, and I never dropped any balls and really never did say nothing to anybody, but they kept somebody in the place of me. Matter of fact, I probably could run backwards faster than the guy could run frontwards. But when a coach don't like you, well, then you got a problem. But the nice thing about Landry and Lombardi, well, they always kept the best ball player, but that wasn't the case with a guy named Allie Sherman. And kind of tickled me years later why when he even became a head coach, I think, and he probably lost a bunch of games.
I talked to someone, they said that the reason that Lombardi wasn't hired as the coach was the owner, Maynard, didn't think that New York was ready for an Italian coach. How silly was that?
I never heard that comment, so I don't know anything about it.
But you played for some great coaches. I mean, you had Lombardi, you had also Landry, and then you had Hank Stram, or not Hank Stram, from the Eubank.
Well, I played under 9 head coaches and 42 assistants, and I really, like I say, and later as time went on, I found out that I knew a lot more football especially about the passing game, than he'd ever know.
Well, and I think most New York Giants fans would think that they knew more about the passing game than Allie Sherman. He was not particularly popular back in the day. So you end up going through the Canadian Football League, the Hamilton Tiger Cats. How did that come about?
Well, I got released by the Giants, and instead of going home, why I made contact with Betty with the Hamilton people, and decided, well, I'll just run up there and play. I could play as a wide receiver, and also you went both ways. They have 12 Americans. Most of the 12 Americans always go both ways, except the quarterback position people. And so I wound up going up there, and then I learned a little bit later that Lombardi had picked up my option at Green Bay, but I'd already been up there and played in a couple of games. Sometimes they play on Monday. They play on, say, Wednesday, and then also double back and play on Saturday. And so I'd already played a couple of games before they finally tracked me down. And so I just I mentioned to Vince, Lombardi could have had me come on to Green Bay, but I said, well, I'm getting to play up here, and but under the contract rule, I would have had to go back to, well, if you're doing okay, well, I won't contest the agreement between the Canadian League and the NFL. So that's what I did. I stayed there and then went to the Grey Cup, and we lost to Winnipeg in the Grey Cup. And coincidence, but 20-something years later, my son wound up coaching and at Winnipeg, and they won the Grey Cup and runner-up, and he's got a ring a lot bigger than my Super Bowl ring.
How did you end up with the Jets then?
How what?
How did you end up with the Jets?
Well, in 1960, the American Football League was founded, and when I played in Canada, I signed with no contract to go back the next year. So when the American Football League was founded, well, I wound up being the first New York Titan that was signed. The Titans later became the Jets after the ownership. And I stayed with the Jets for 15 years.
Was there an opportunity to go back to the NFL? Was Lombardi still interested in you?
Say that again?
Rather than signing with the AFL, could you have gone back to the National Football League and signed with Lombardi and the Packers?
No, they give me my freedom, free release, so to speak, and or they wouldn't contest it. And I'd rather play with the New York Titans now because they hired Sammy Ball as coach, and I played against him 3 years. I knew he was going to throw the ball, pass the ball a lot, and his key receiver coach was Bones Taylor, and Bones said, "Well, all we're going to do with you is you're going to play offense, wide receiver," and that's the way it turned out there.
I mean, you had quite a wide receiving tandem with the Jets, with you, Namath throwing you the ball, and then Powell as the other receiver. You guys were loaded.
Well, I think we were 1-2 in the league in yardage gained, and I was right up there 1 or 2 from the top as the most passes caught. receptions. We had a good passing attack.
Well, your first year with the Titans, you caught 72 passes, so you had to be pretty happy.
Yeah.
What was Sammy Baugh like?
Just the greatest guy. He's probably the greatest football player that ever played. People talk about Jim Brown, a great player. Well, Jim, if you give a point deal, I come up with a point deal with players. Let's say offense is 10 points, defense is 10 points, punting is 10 points, and Sammy Baugh, he was all pro offense, all pro defense, and his punting records probably still nearly stand. So he had 30 points compared to somebody else that might only have 10. Jim Brown's a nice guy, a great runner, but on defense, well, I think he only punched back maybe one game or two. So Sammy Baugh is still a great player, but he also was a great coach. He knew the offense, the defense, and the passing game, and it was great to be able to be indoctrinated into football under his ability. And like I say, I played against him 3 years in college, and I knew he was going to throw the ball. So that's probably the main reason I came back to the first year of the New York Titans, and it was a lot of fun.
Okay. By 1965, you're the Jets, and you have Weed Eubank, the coach, and they draft this cocky kid out of Alabama named Joe Namath. Could you tell right away that he was somebody special at quarterback?
Oh, yeah. In the bowl game, when Namath played in the bowl game against Texas, naturally, I watch TV and watch ball games and all. And then I could tell he was a great quarterback. And then they drafted him, and he come to camp, and I always rested good with the quarterbacks. I told him, I said, I'm going to make you a lot better quarterback, and you're going to make me a great receiver, but we're going to talk on every play and practice as we set up our passing offense. And then as Joe got to camp, and we discussed a lot of things and all, because I'd already seen he was had been a great ball player, and I said, we'll visit. And I rounded my patterns off, and that was a little bit different than some people were taught. I'm driving a car. It's kind of like driving a pickup. When you drive a pickup, you're going to turn 90 degrees to the right. You slow down. But me, I'm going to round my pass pattern, and Namath and I had one busted play in about 11 years we played together.
So did Namath know what you're going to do before you did it?
Oh yeah, he calls the play in the huddle. But I taught Joe something that I've never found a coach yet that's ever taught a player this. See, Joe calls the play. Let's say I'm going to run a 5-yard out, a 5-yard out. Well, he knows I'm going to run a 5-yard out. But as he drops back in the huddle, the defensive back comes up on me, as I call it. They used to call it bump and run, but I call it the crowd. He's crowding you up on the line of scrimmage. Well, instead of me running a 5-yard out, I'm just going to slide to the outside, and I'm going to run a go pattern and just lay the ball up. And I said, Joseph, don't read me. You already know what you told me to do. You read the defensive back. If he stays back, 5 yards, I'm going to be a 5-yard out. If he comes up on the line of scrimmage, I slide to the outside and I run a go, and we got 6 points.
It certainly didn't take long for you to become his favorite receiver. His nameless rookie year, you had 68 catches to lead the team by, about 30 more. Whole season he had 18, so you became the number 1 target right away. I would assume defenses began to concentrate on you, certainly at that point. How'd you deal with that?
Well, whoever gets doubled, and I'll jump over to an illustration for you. We go to in the Super Bowl, the Baltimore's defense doubled and tripled me the whole game. So Namath ain't going to throw the ball over to me. He just looks over and I'm out so wide. They got to double and triple me. So why even risk a throw over there? So he threw most of the passes to Sauer, I think about 8. Mathis had 3. Snell had maybe 4 or 5. Boozer had 3 or 4. So Joe's just going to go to the guy that's open. Why, like I say, why risk it over, throwing the ball to me when there's 3 guys guarding me? That worked out real great. And I always kid people and say, well, I had the best seat in the house. I knew I wasn't going to get thrown to, but I had a job to do to entertain a linebacker, a cornerback, and maybe a safety. So it worked out real good.
What was your thoughts when Namath made the prediction with that Super Bowl that you guys were going to win it? Did you kind of think to yourself, what is he doing?
Well, we didn't even think nothing about it. Matter of fact, all week long, Pete Lamons made the comment, said, hey, with our defense number 1 in the league and an offense that ain't nobody going to stop yet, we wasn't worried about the coach. And as a result, that's the way it went, and the game went a certain way. And then in the fourth quarter, Namath, I think it was 16-0, and Namath never even threw 1 pass in the fourth quarter. We just ran the ball down their throat. We had 2 of the greatest runners in the league, Matt Snell and Boozer, and they did okay. Matter of fact, I don't have some stats and stuff in front of me, but I think Matt, I forget how many yards he gained, but is over 100, and they never did slow him down.
Was there one particular defensive back that gave you trouble during your career?
A couple of guys. I see. They was 2 or 3 guys that did pretty good. I can't even think the guy from Buffalo, the tall defensive back, and from Texas A&I, I believe, and then you got Harris and the other guy, Waters, at the Cowboys, and then Tony Banfield from the Houston Oilers. We played all the time. He gave me a lot of hard times. And there's always some you missed. I hadn't thought of a lot of names right now in a long time, but there were several players on other teams that were pretty good. I forget the guy I'm seeing him right now, but I can't quite think his name. Larry Wilson, and then the other guy at St. Louis.
There weren't many guys faster than you, though, at that time in the NFL.
Faster than me?
No, there wasn't many.
I don't know of anybody that's faster than me. A lot of them say they're certain speed, and they run times on a nice turf and all, but I can still stride my 4.3 with full gear football on the grass field, and usually when we had our timing, we did it after a hard day's workout. So, like I say, I never got caught from behind, so that's all that really matters.
How did you come to wear uniform jersey number 13? Some people, think that's unlucky. Obviously,
well, I chose it, and that even had it written in my contract with the Giants, and because I'd wore it in college, and 13 was a great part of my life. My dad was born on the 13th. My sister was born on the 13th. And I married a lady that was born on the 13th, and I had 13 in college, and I went to 13 schools growing up, 5 high schools, and the Super Bowl victory was the 13th of the year, and I just had all kind of other 13s. I don't have a little chart in front of me to rattle off a whole bunch of deals, and went to the blue-gray game, and they never had a 13 in the history of the league, of the game, and I said, well, I got to have a 13 if I'm going to play in your game, so they went out and got me a jersey with a 13 on it.
You didn't have 13 kids, though, did you?
In school, I probably had 13 in the class.
Your wife might have shot you if you made her have 13 kids.
Yeah. No, I had a daughter and a son, and one of each, and that was enough, and it worked out real good.
When you get voted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame and you go to Canton, what was that like?
I just, you met some great guys, and then the guys that I went in the league with, well, they all were deserving. And matter of fact, I remember when we got there, there's a big sign up there said 13 exit number 13, and I was the 6th. As I made it in my speech, I was the sixth of the Magnificent Seven that's going in the Hall of Fame. And when I saw that number 13 up there on that exit deal, I said, well, I guess I'm supposed to be here. So that worked out pretty good.
You had an NFL player who's in the Hall of Fame worship you when he was growing up. He said he wanted to be just like you, with Steve Largent.
Well, I thank him. That's he turned out to be a great ball player, and you always appreciate anybody's maybe comment when they maybe looked up to us, and it's a shame there's sure a lot of guys you can't look up to in today's game, but the older guys, even before me, they were always seemed like a class guy, and for who knows, umpteen years that was ever had any negative situations such as being arrested or I think some guy bet on a game. He didn't bet to lose, he bet to win, but he got suspended for a year, so that created a little problem. But later I think it was resolved, or he laid out a year and he came back and played and still remained a star.
After you guys won the Super Bowl, did you say to yourself, okay, we're going to be like the Packers and have our own dynasty and we're going to win 2 or 3 more?
Well, I never thought past the game that I'm playing. A lot of times I could look on the schedule, and the only thing I ever looked up on the schedule in the future was when we might be going to Dallas to play down close to the state where I was raised, and the future part of it didn't even matter. Matter of fact, playing the AFL championship, we played Oakland in New York, and after the first half, when we came in at the halftime, I just made a statement. I said, "Men, if y'all want to go to the Super Bowl, you got to win this game. Super Bowls in the future, and it may not be there, but you got to go out there, and we got to play the second half like it was the only game we was playing." So we did, and we come back and we beat Oakland for it, and then we all got to go to the Super Bowl, and kind of like the statement I made a minute ago about going to the Super Bowl, was the pressure and all that, and I said, "There ain't no pressure." I said, if you want to just go out there and get another ball, go out there and play real good, but when you get the winner's share, and somebody said they gave you a dime. And then one guy said, "Well, you get a check." I said, "I don't want a check. I want all my money in dimes. I want to feel it." So it worked out pretty good.
You had to put a lot of dimes in the pickup truck to equal that winner's share.
Yeah. They'll need some strong bags, coin bags to carry it.
What was your favorite moment in your history of playing in the league?
Well, the big pass that kind of made a lot of difference to me was in the playoff game against Oakland. We got to play in and going a couple of quarters, and down the third quarter, I said, "Joseph, I got a long one when you need it." And it's kind of late in the quarter, they got ahead, and I ran a long go pattern, and Joe had told everybody in the huddle, "All right, let's be real careful. We're going to go for it. And I need a little extra time, or I just need for you to block them." And the wind was blowing about 50 miles an hour, and I went down the right side, straight down the right side on a go pattern or post pattern, and the ball was towed at the post, and I was behind the guy about 3 or 4 yards, and then the wind caught the ball, and if you're looking at a clock, I was going to catch it about 10 o'clock up there as you look at the clock as you run down the field. Well, the wind caught the ball, and it kind of moved the ball over to the 11, and then 12, and then 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, out of bounds on the 6-yard line. But I followed the ball with my eyes, and then at the last moment I stuck my hands out there and I caught it over about 1 or 2 o'clock, and my momentum and direction carried me out on the 6-yard line, or I could have scored. And then Joe called a couple of plays, and then he called pass play to me on the right side. But then as the formation changed, the defense changed. Joe, instead of me being number 1, now I'm number 4 in order of catches. And he went to the left to Sauer, and then Lamons, and then Mathis, and then he turned back, and you could see him brace himself real strong, and he threw the ball to me, and I'd done my delayed route to come open as a 4th receiver, and then he threw the ball, and I caught it just about waist high, and boy, I just really huddled it in and wound up and caught it for a touchdown, and that put us back ahead of the Raiders and went on, and defense held them good down yonder later, intercepted the ball, I believe, and we beat them for the AFL championship to get to go to the Super Bowl.
You're right about 13 being your lucky number. You played 13 years with the Jets and Titans.
Right.
Was that on purpose, or that was just coincidence?
Well, it worked out that way, time, situation, and like I say, just like some of them other numbers, you know, if you, I did a deal. I wrote a book. You Can't Catch Sunshine, but I got a lot of information in regards to going, and it just it worked out great. More and more situations like M is the 13th letter of the alphabet, and as my mother and dad always called me, Donald Maynard has 13 letters in my first and last name. So there's a few more probably. I just not where I got stuff to be able to look some of it up. Every once in a while I forget some of it.
Did you do any more singing? Because back in the day you were part of a singing group with Blake Turner, Jim Turner, Matt Snell. Very successful commercial. You end up on the Johnny Carson show. Oh, what was all that like?
Oh, that was a great time. Matter of fact, we Blake Turner earlier or later on, he recorded a song, "Is Anybody Going to San Antonio or Phoenix, Arizona?" And it was climbing the charts like mad. And then our buddy Charlie Pride recorded it, and he took it to #1, and I think it was #1, something like maybe about 20 weeks on the deal. But Blake was a great entertainer, and he played the guitar and all, and being able to do that, and with that Score commercial that also became the #1 commercial in 1969, why it getting on Johnny Carson show and a couple other special event things that we went to, it worked out real good, and the other great thing is we got paid for it.
So when you get together at the Hall of Fame with all the players, do you and Lem Barney sing or decide to have a contest who's the better singer?
Did who?
Lem Barney, because he's a singer too. What's going on?
Well, you're mentioning things that I wasn't aware of, and I'm truthful to say I never knew he sang. I never heard him sing, but that's here or there.
How did you know when it was time to hang it up and call it a career?
Say that again.
How did you know when it was time to call it a career and no longer be playing football?
Well, I didn't call it a career. I never. The last 8 years I played, I didn't miss a pass, and they brought in a couple other guys. We brought in some other guy. His son-in-law, I think, was one of them, and the Jets released me, and then I went to the Cardinals, and then I went on out to the Rams. But nobody, well, they probably know a little bit about the Cardinals because I stayed there and played 3 games, and then I told the coach, I wasn't going to be a messenger boy sending plays in and out. I'm going to play regular, or you can cut me or trade me. And so Cardinals released me, and then I went. I told the coaching staff what was kind of wrong with some of their ball players, organization and passing routes and stuff like that before I left, and so then Cordell did pretty good there, and then he went on out to, I believe, the Chargers, but that was about it. And the politics got in there, and so which I should have.
How did you feel when you found out you were going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
What?
How did you feel when you found out that you got inducted into the Hall of Fame?
Oh, I was real proud and glad, and Namath had got in a couple years before, I think. Let's see, I think I went in '87. He might have been a couple years first, but you know, like I say, to me it's an honor to get in a lot of things. But the main thing I felt good about, I was always in my mom and dad's Hall of Fame, and my brother and sisters, and that those were the main things with me, and then naturally my wife before I lost her.
What number are you for the Hall of Fame on your gold jacket?
Let's see, I got let's see, 139, and if you look at that, that's got a 13 in it. That's number 139 is going in the Hall of Fame, and it's got a 13 in it. And then if you multiply 13 times 3, it'll equal a 39 at the end of that number.
or if you had those numbers all up 1, 3, and 9, you end up with 13.
Yeah.
Well, it was meant to be, apparently.
Well, it you know, it's I think it yes sir, to be, you know, into something that kind of, I think, need to be there a little bit sooner, and a couple of them, they depend on what all they do in the off season and so forth. I remember that one guy, that drug addict, I won't mention his name, but he was out there with the drugs and stuff, or got caught or something. I've even forgotten that part, but he was from kind of down by the Dallas way.
No, you're absolutely right. When you get in the Hall of Fame, it's an honor. And when I see these Hall of Famers nowadays, these younger guys selling their coats, charging all that money for autographs, they're forgetting what it's all about.
Yeah. It, like I say, it you know, it brings well, in my case, since we're visiting, it brings back a little bit of well, great feelings and all that, but every once in a while it also triggers a little bit of sadness of just the situation, or somebody that should have been put in a long time ago.
Like Jerry Kramer with the Packers. I just hope he gets in soon.
Yeah, and then, you know, Charlie Connolly, I don't think he's, I hadn't kind of looked on the chart or looked up the kind of the Hall of Fame book. I still don't think he's in there.
No, he's not.
And then a couple of guys that probably got put in, but who wants to give the honor to somebody's widow, or hopefully their mom and dad? But it happens now and then, I'm sure.
Thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Remembered today by you, and I hope you and your family have the greatest of 2013. This is my year, and 2 or 3 little things kind of keep happening around there. But anytime you got that's my 24-hour number, my home number, and all that, and I did choose a 1300 in it. But have a great year, and I appreciate it again.
No, we appreciate it. Hope to see you at the Hall of Fame this year in August.
Okay, I'm considering it pretty good. So yeah, be sure and say hello, and I'll try to look you up too, or try not to avoid anybody.
Sounds great. Thank you very much.
Thank
you. Bye. Thank you. Bye.